Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Supreme Court is going to settle on this, but the important thing I think for people to understand is the Chinese government, the CCP, is using birth tourism on an industrial scale. They are exploiting it on an industrial scale. So what do I mean? Well, any numbers that we have related to how many Chinese nationals are flying to the United States, giving birth here, and then flying home with the baby, raising them in communist China, and then when they turn 18, they're going to be citizens, they can vote and do everything. Our federal government has no idea.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and we're going to do things a little differently today because we wanted to talk to this guest a little bit later on in the program, but he had another commitment. And we've talked to Peter over the years in different books that he's written, and Peter Schweizer is joining us right now to talk about the invisible coup, how American elites and foreign powers use immigration as a weapon. And the example that Peter used initially was about China, but we're going to talk about some other ones too. Peter Schweizer, welcome to the program. How are you?
Hey, great to be back with you, Martha. Thanks so much for having me.
So this morning I was listening to an interview with the conservative Canadian candidate for prime minister that was talking about some of these similar things that you write about in your book. And he was talking about China in particular, where he said that, you know, we made a miscalculation 50 years ago as Americans that we thought we could trade with China, and that if we traded with China, then they'd come to like us and they'd come to appreciate us, and then we would end up being trading partners. And what actually happened is we became competitors, and that China, just like they deal with everybody else in the world, has no interest in being a partner with anybody. They just have an interest in domination. Do you think that's a pretty fair assessment?
I think it is, and not just because that this Canadian official has said that. That's what China says.
Yeah.
You know, they view themselves as in a competition, a war with not just the United States and our military and our economic system, with, in their words, American civilization. They believe that the foundational elements of the United States, individual rights, freedom, Judeo-Christian background, is completely antithetical to their view of the world. And so they view it as an opportunity to challenge it, transform us, and to make us conform more to their image. The irony is, Martha, that 50 years ago, the presupposition was that we traded with China, China would become more like us. The reality is, to some extent, we've become more like them.
You know, it's funny because before I was in radio, my first career, I was a buyer in retail. And I think that it really helped me in what I ultimately ended up doing, because I was spending other people's money, right? And I learned a lot about government through spending other people's money. But I was part of the group. Atlanta was booming at the time. I worked for a store called Rich's. We were like one of the fastest growing stores in the country. And we were one of the first that were doing business with China. And in the area that I was in, we were one of the first groups within the store to do business with China. And I learned back when I was a very green 25-year-old buyer, 40 years ago, that they didn't play fair. And that was 40 years ago. They did everything on letter of credit. If it came in damaged, you had no recourse. It wasn't like regular people that you did business with, where you had some options if things didn't happen the way they were supposed to. So as a young woman back in the day, having to deal with China, I learned that lesson very early. So I was always very skeptical about China. Of course, Americans are optimistic, right, Peter? We're optimistic. We're forward-looking. We always want to think people are as good as we are. And so we make mistakes sometimes because of that.
Yeah, we do. In the clip you played before I came on the show, I was talking about birthright citizenship, and this is an example of China absolutely exploiting our generosity and naivete in a way that is unimaginable to us, but is in fact going on. They, as I said, have set up this industrial scale exploitation of birthright citizenship. That's the idea. If your mother's here and you're born here, you're granted U.S. citizenship. And a lot of people would say, well, okay, let's think about that. What China has done is set up an industry of more than 1,000 birth tourism companies. And these companies are hired by the Chinese elite to fly pregnant women to the United States or our territories like Saipan, give birth here, and then as soon as the baby is able to fly home, they fly it back to China. But that child is now a U.S. citizen, and it's being raised in communist China. And this practice is being encouraged by the Chinese Communist Party. They've run articles in their main newspaper, the People's Daily. And here's the problem, the scale of this. The Chinese government and Chinese research firms, Martha, say that every year over the last 13 years, roughly 100,000 Chinese babies have been born in the United States. So we are looking at more than 1 million, quote unquote, U.S. citizens that are being raised in China. And when they turn 18, they're going to be able to vote. This is a transformational exploitation of our generosity. And this is what we are up against in terms of the way that China approaches the world and us.
So what can we do about that?
Well, the Supreme Court is going to be hearing birthright citizenship case this spring. I met, before the book came out, I met with President Trump in the Oval Office for about 55 minutes. He had the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, there. And I walked them through this, and this is going to be and has been incorporated into the arguments made before the Supreme Court. And so my hope is that the Supreme Court is going to say, at a minimum, that birthright citizenship is not absolute, and that the 14th Amendment says you are born here and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. A child that is born here and a week later goes to China and then raised in China is not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States.
I've always thought, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I've always thought that phrase, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, has been the key to how you interpret this particular part of the Constitution. Because if you just, to your point, if you just come here and leave, you're not subject to the jurisdiction anymore. And so I'm glad you're doing that. We're talking about the invisible coup, how American elites and foreign powers use immigration as a weapon. We're talking to Peter Schweizer. I wanted to ask you this question, and you might think it's from left field too, but I was watching, like most of us, I watched the Olympics for 2 weeks. And you had this interesting 2 stories that were going on there. You had Alyssa Lee, whose father had been in Tiananmen Square, who came over to the United States, who made a better life, who was tried to be recruited by the Chinese to escape for China, offered a lot of money, spied on, according to them, and didn't do it. Okay, because and you saw the way he acted when this national anthem played, the way she acted. I don't care that she might be a liberal politically. She clearly is a patriot with how she conducted herself. And then you have this other skier, Gu, I think is her name, where she did the opposite. She ended up being paid by the Chinese to ski for them, and she became the cover of Time magazine. Okay, so I after reading your book and thinking about that, I was thinking to myself, what a great example of what Peter's talking about here.
Yeah, no, those are 2 very good contrasting elements. And this signifies with the skier what the Chinese call elite capture. And this is their term, and it's their strategy. And it's really smart when you think about it, Martha. And this is the belief that, we're going head-to-head with the United States in this competition. Why don't we try to just buy off members of the American elite, people on Wall Street, people in entertainment, people in politics? We can make them rich, make them a lot of money. They will say nice things about us and make decisions that are beneficial to us. So this has been a concerted effort by China for a couple of decades. And politically, as I've laid out, I mean, you can look at both sides of the aisle. You can look at the Biden family and the millions they got. from the Chinese while Joe Biden was vice president of the United States. You can also look at Mitch McConnell, a Republican senator from Kentucky, and his wife, and the sweetheart deals they received from the Chinese state-owned shipbuilding corporation. And what happened? Both of those politicians, who in the 1990s were pretty hardline on China, some 10 or 15 years later, when the China threat is larger and when China is more of a threat, suddenly became pretty wobbly as far as their policy positions related to China. So that example of the skier is illustrative of this larger problem of elite capture. And so when China has a problem with the Trump administration on trade, yeah, they negotiate with Trump. But the other thing they do is they go to Wall Street and they go to Silicon Valley, to the investors and the companies who they have given sweetheart deals to enter the Chinese market, and they say, you will go to the Trump administration and you will lobby on our behalf. And a lot of them do that because the money is just so enticing.
So my old boss, David Perdue, is the ambassador of China for President Trump. Yeah. And he, of course, ran companies in China back in the 80s and 90s and has a history. Is he hardline enough for that position?
I think he is hardline enough for that position. Yeah, the issue is not, I think, so much whether you do business with China, because China is a big market. And if you're running a large company, invariably, you are going to do business with China. The question is, did you get favorable deals? Did you get a carve-out? Were you allowed to enter a certain market ahead of other competitors? And in exchange, you are doing favors. And you can look at Wall Street, some of the hedge funds, I've written about this, that were given first access to Chinese capital markets before anybody else. And those people are now the biggest advocates for a soft line towards China. So for me, it's not whether you do business with China, it's did you get sweetheart deals, and what is your posture now? And has the money, are you sort of linked by an umbilical cord to the Chinese that requires you, in effect, in order to keep your wealth?
Because they pretend to be, free markets. They pretend to be free markets, but then you see what happened to Jack Ma, where, he disappeared for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden he's got a different story when he comes back. So you can't trust the deals you make with them. Peter Schweizer, this book is out everywhere. The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon. Peter, thank you for the work you do. It matters, it's consequential, and it needs to be read and seen by more people. Thank you for being with me today.
Thanks for having me, Martha.
Thank you. We'll take a break.
From the crown of the Statue of Liberty to the powerful stories of women who shaped America, Travel with Anita is celebrating Women's History Month. Join me Saturday at 1 to hear the stories that makes this nation shine on WDUN. Always here, always local.
This is Grant Nichols, and at Loretta's Country Kitchen, we know life can really pile up. There's work, getting the kids to practice, shopping. With all that, the week can really wear you out. The last thing you want to do is spend Saturday in the kitchen. Not to worry, we have you covered with Saturday lunch at Loretta's. That's right, not only are we open for breakfast on Saturdays, we're also serving up lunch from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Give your kitchen and your family a break with Saturday lunch at Loretta's Country Kitchen, Mundy Mow Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
You wouldn't want someone you couldn't trust working on your family's HVAC and plumbing, so why would you call anyone but Gainesville Mechanical? They're your local, most trusted and award-winning HVAC and plumbing company in North Georgia. From maintenance appointments and clogged drains to plumbing emergencies and new system installations, their team is ready to serve you. And with their customer assurance maintenance plan, you can receive discounts, priority scheduling, and 24/7 no overtime rates. Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes since 1989.
Some car dealers want to sell you a car. At Hardy Chevrolet, we'd rather help you find the vehicle that's right for you. This is Mike Cormier. We call it the Hardy Chevrolet difference. Since you're the one who will be in the driver's seat of that new Chevy, we think you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to making the selection. It's like Charles Hardy always said.
We love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
Here's a tale of Linda trying to lose weight, but the med prices she found were all over the place.
Hidden fees and markups made her jaw drop low. Then she found Good RX. Now she's in the know.
GLP-1 subscriptions FDA approved.
With clear upfront pricing.
And same-day pickup.
That's Good RX, the no-nonsense way. Save time and money on prescriptions.
Get to goodrx.com/weight loss. GoodRx is not insurance.
Are you a fraud-paying American? 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans have been victim of identity fraud. With LifeLock, your identity, if it's stolen, they fix it guaranteed or your money back. And last year, billions in refunds were stolen. Could be from your salary, overtime, or second job. Gone. But this year, you don't need to stay a victim. Because this tax season, fraud-paying American is something no American should have to claim. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms do apply.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, an Oakwood woman is facing charges for animal cruelty after multiple dead cats were found in her apartment. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
This has been so infuriating to me to see over the past few days, is this kind of crystallization among what the left now is just anti-America. It doesn't matter who the United States, with Donald Trump as president, is involved in a conflict with. It doesn't matter what he opposes. The position of the left is to be like, the other thing is good. If it was like, Donald Trump finds a cure for cancer, they'll be like, cancer did nothing wrong. Like, as long as they're like, America is an evil colonial empire to stop cancer, why shouldn't cancer grow on stolen land? Anything. If there's any position to take against America, they will take it.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. John Lilly's here with me today. That's comfortably smug. We had John Ashbrook on yesterday. We're going to have Michael Duncan on next week. And they are so funny. But he's like, if Trump found a cure for cancer, they'd say, what did cancer do to us? They should be able to thrive on stolen lands.
Have signs out marching through our streets.
That's right. It's so crazy, but it's true. And even the things that they've agreed with in the past, this is the thing that drives me the craziest, John, is that it's stuff that they were for, however many years ago. And now because Trump's doing it, because let me just tell you something, folks, Trump is not a conservative. No. Okay? Trump is a capitalist, and he's an opportunist, and he leans conservative, but he's going to do what he thinks is the best thing, regardless of whether it's conservative or liberal. And so he has these liberals tying themselves up in knots, being against things that they used to be for.
Yeah, and what's frustrating with this is I've got a lot of liberal friends here in town, whatever that means to you, and they don't think that stuff what you just said about the cancer. I mean, they.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So they get lumped in with that, which just isn't fair. And you and I get lumped in with some of these people that think Trump can do no wrong. And that's where we're at right now, and it's extremely frustrating. But that was funny that he said that for some on the left that would believe that.
Yeah, and I think that, again, it's a lot of times the leadership.
Yes.
I still believe there's a big disconnect between the Democratic leadership and the average Democrat voter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I don't think there's as much of a disconnect between the Republican leadership and the Republican voters. There still is a disconnect because most people aren't paying attention to these elections. We have qualifying week going on this week. And because, look, I love Brian Kemp, but because Brian Kemp decided not to run for Senate, we are having fruit basket turnover up and down the ballot because since he didn't run for Senate, now 3 people ran for Senate. 2 of them are going to leave their congressional seats. That leaves now, with other people that are retiring, 4 congressional seats that are open congressional seats, meaning that all kinds of people are going to be running for it. We got 2 Democrats that have qualified in the 9th district to run for Congress, and we are a plus 26 district. They think there's blood in the water.
Yeah.
Because we lost some seats. So the thing that we've got to look at is how are we going to get through this? And folks, in 75 days or whenever it is till the primary, there's going to be a ballot with 51 candidates on it, maybe more by the time it's over there. How are you going to keep up with 51 candidates?
You're going to have your favorite or whoever.
It's going to be good for us.
Yeah, whoever. Well, we're going to see. I'm going to be interested to see, will the Democrats line up with the AOCs? And will the Republicans line up with Trump? Or will someone please dare come to the middle and try to compromise and see if those candidates can win, see if people will vote for them?
Let's go to the phones now and talk to Joe. Is it Joe and No. Okay. Oh, that's Jon Burns. He's up here early. We won't bring him in until after the bottom of the hour. But I agree with you that there's got to be. But there are so many candidates. Qualifying is great, and I love the democratic system, and I love the fact that we're going to have candidates and contested races because I believe in contested races. I think you are a better candidate if you have to defend your position. However, this fruit basket turnover that we got, our legislature, and we'll ask Speaker Burns about this on the other side, is going to look really different next year. You know, just by the nature of how many people are running and how many people are leaving to run for other things.
And I'm going to be interested to see, if you want to stand out nowadays, you got to be on the extreme of either side to get attention.
And you know, I'm going to qualify that. If you want to stand out on social media.
Okay.
And here's what I want to say to you folks. Social media is not real. I know that if you're a candidate, your consultants are telling you how important social media is, and it is to a degree. But the average person does not stay connected to social media all day, every day. So you still got to do the retail politics. And I know you're going to hate me and throw something at me for this. You still got to do television ads and traditional media ads because that's where the average person is going to see your message. That's where the average person is going to see your message. And they're not paying attention until about 3 weeks before the election. We'll be back.
You're helping the kids with homework, answering work emails, trying to get dinner on the table, all while fielding calls about your parents' doctor's appointments, medications, and memory concerns. Are you stretched thin caring for young children while also trying to support your aging parents? If the answer is yes, you're part of the sandwich generation. Millions of people are in the same boat. You're trying to be everything to everyone, and it is exhausting. Hi, I'm Robin Lacrimosa, Life Care Coordinator at Kimbrough Law. We help families in the sandwich generation manage these difficult situations with compassion, clarity, and confidence. Because when your loved one's health deteriorates, it creates more than just medical problems. It creates housing problems, financial problems, and legal problems. Who has to solve these problems? You do. Fortunately, you don't have to do this alone. Kimbrough Law can help. Call 706-850-6910 or visit kimbroughslaw.net to schedule a consultation.
Have you been driving 25 in a 55-mile-per-hour zone? Are your passengers concerned about your vision? Don't let glare at night or in the rain slow you down. Hi, this is Kim. Here at Advanced Eye Center, we offer all laser LASIK, clear lens exchange, specialty lenses with laser cataract surgery, as well as contacts and designer glasses. Our doctors handle a wide variety of vision problems for people of all ages and are skilled at providing fantastic solutions. Come see why we're voted best in Hall County year after year. Advanced Eye Center, vision correction for all ages.
3 straight for Tyler Reddick. He gets it done here at Austin, Texas.
I don't know how many times I've won 3 in a row as a racer in general in my lifetime, so I'll try to go to Phoenix and make it 4.
Will he make it a 4, Pete? We'll find out at the Straight Talk Wireless 500 in Phoenix, Sunday at 2:30 on North Georgia's home of NASCAR. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 9:30.
Fox News, I'm Therese Crowley. Operation Epic Fury, the debate.
It's not risk-free, it's not guaranteed, but this is an opportunity to change geopolitics for the better.
GOP Senator Ron Johnson after the Senate rejected Democrats' efforts to restrict the president's war powers. Today, the House vote. As the U.S. and Israel hunt down Iran's hated Revolutionary Guard.
The organization that cracked down on protesters earlier this year. We know that these strikes have targeted IRGC headquarters, their intelligence directorate, and the Basij headquarters. An Israeli fighter jet shooting down an Iranian plane over the skies of Iran. The first air kill for the Israelis since the 1980s.
Fox Trey Yangst, a federal judge blocks Virginia from enforcing its new social media law that limits kids under 16 from spending more than an hour a day on platforms like TikTok and YouTube. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and prosecutors are now seeking the death penalty for a Cleveland woman accused of killing a 4-year-old girl in Hall County last year. Jessica Maria Moats was arrested last October after 4-year-old Autumn Fox's body was found in the rear of a car parked at the Sam's Club on Monday Mill Road in Oakwood. District Attorney's Office for Northeastern Judicial Circuit said it is now seeking the death penalty against Moats. She faces charges that include malice murder and aggravated battery. Details are still being released following Hall County Sheriff Gerald Couch's DUI arrest last Friday. According to the full Georgia State Patrol report, they responded to Couch's home after a request from the Hall County Sheriff's Office.
Requesting either a heat unit, GSP, and a supervisor for DUI as soon as possible.
That was dispatch audio. Couch reportedly blew over 2.5 times the legal limit with a .212 BAC. His county-issued SUV was also taken by the Hall County Sheriff's Office. And a woman is facing a list of animal cruelty charges after dead cats were reportedly found inside an Oakwood apartment last month. A report from Hall County Animal Services says officials found 4 dead cats and 2 puppies inside a unit at Creekside on Monday Mill Apartments back in February 2nd. 40-year-old Jessica Marie Jensen is facing several charges of animal cruelty. More news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
Good Thursday morning, North Georgia. Areas of fog, clouds, and then we are in for a mix of clouds and sunshine. Mid to upper 70s this evening and overnight, partly to mostly cloudy. Upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Demarest, 58 degrees, Winder, 62, and in Gainesville, 61. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Hi, this is Cal Cooley with Electronic Sales Company, and joining me today is Charlie Bramwell, Director of Interactive Neighborhood for Kids, better known as INC around here. When we help move your burglar alarm, fire alarm, cameras, and all the other things, I had no idea how impressive and big INC has become. Where's your new location?
We moved to Oakwood, center of Oakwood.
Got anything special coming up?
Yes, sir. We have several new exhibits coming in within the next month or two. The Department of Transportation is putting in some roads for us. We're talking to the FAA about bringing some monitors in so kids can actually see real-life flights. We have an extremely nice train exhibit. And yesterday, we was donated a train console from an actual train. We're going to refurbish it and put it next to the train exhibit so kids can actually be the train conductor and move levers and valves.
I am so excited. Everybody, you need to go down there to INC in Oakwood.
Your community partner in protection, Electronic Sales Company. See them today online at electronicsalesco.com.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Mr. Speaker, state your inquiry. Is it not true that I feel really good about Democrats again giving tax relief to our hardworking farmers, that we will continue to support unanimously any tax legislation that benefits all Georgians, especially our hardworking farmers that we talked about yesterday? Is that not true?
No, that's not true, because I know a lot of farmers who live in a homestead, and you didn't support that one.
It is the Martha Zoller Show, and do I love this man. I can't be objective about Jon Burns. Speaker Jon Burns is here with me today, and, you know, he put that guy in his place, and I think he knew it was coming. Jon, how are you?
I'm good, Martha, but more importantly, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. I'm back, and feeling good. I'm about a month ago today. I had a heart attack, and I got still some follow-up to do and all of that sort of thing, but I'm thankful I live in a town with a level 1 trauma center, and
Absolutely.
and I got me to the hospital fast, and I got in through the ER and up to the cardiac ICU in less than 2 hours, and I'm here today, and I appreciate it.
Hey, y'all have a great health system there in Northeast Georgia. You know, I was there with my dear friend Terry England, and y'all are very fortunate, and they do great work there, and certainly a great asset for that community to have access to quality, affordable health care. So we appreciate them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Terry was patient number 1. Because
He
the center had the trauma center had just opened up. The level 1 trauma center had just opened up. So he was patient number 1, and he and I have talked about our shared experience. So anyway, thank you so much for everything you do for Georgia. And I want to talk a little bit about, because crossover day is tomorrow. And I will not be coming down like I usually do, but hopefully by sine die I will be. I know that literacy is at the top of your list. I wanted you to talk a little bit about what's going to be accomplished there this year.
Well, people say, what's your number 1 priority? And I can tell you without a doubt, literacy has been and continues to be our number 1 priority. The bill's a great bill, and HB 1193, the Georgia Early Literacy Act. And, it begins with, let me say this before I say anything else about literacy. This resources we're going to provide for our young people has nothing to do with no blame whatsoever on our teachers. They're doing a great job. We just want to provide resources for them as we support our young people. And we will have a literacy coach in every elementary school in this state, K through 3, so they can be there and work with the teachers and work with the folks in the school and work with the young people to ensure we get on course here. We, as you well know, only about 30% of our young people are reading on grade level by the time they leave the 3rd grade. That's unacceptable. We're going to, and we are committed to making the commitment to support these teachers and certainly work with our new teachers. They come through the higher education process. We're working with the chancellor. He's been a great partner here to ensure that the schools of education are ready, prepared to teach the science of reading when they come to the school systems, and we're supporting. We're doing some things in the budget to help support those new teachers as they come out, as far as doing their initial work with the school system. And there's something else very important, Martha, is we are also focused, and I give my wife credit for helping push me on this and helping that I can understand this. But we want to be there with young families even before the child is born, but certainly making sure they understand the impact they can have on this child's life by reading to them. So we're going to provide a book for those children, but it's also all hands on deck with our health systems, our hospitals, everyone that has contact and relationships with young parents, so they understand that how important it is that to read to these children, talk to these children from birth to 5, because that's when language develops.
Well, and in that same area, being able to be sure whether that child has a hearing or a vision problem before 5 years old, if you can, you guys are doing some work on that too.
Martha, we're super excited about something. A lot of us did not know this, but we do not have a school of optometry, a school of vision, if you will, in our state. And so we're very grateful working with the Senate and certainly Governor Kemp to commit almost $30 million for our first school of optometry. It'll be down on the Georgia Southern campus in Statesboro, and it will increase access for vision care across the state. And when we partner that with Dr. Kathleen Toomey and the Department of Public Health, so we'll be screening all of our children, not only for vision, but for hearing the first several years of when they're in school. So how can you learn to read if you can't see, if you can't hear? So just the basics. Let's get it right. Let's give these young people and their families every opportunity to succeed because we know that's what it's all about, is giving them an opportunity to succeed, and they'll take it from there.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm in my 7th year on the State Board of Education representing the 9th District, and we spent a lot of time implementing the Literacy Act as well as talking a lot about screeners, okay? And I'm not anti-screener at all. I think they're a great tool. But I just was recently at a field trip with my granddaughter over at the Inc. Museum, and I got to talk to her teacher, a kindergarten teacher that's a 20-year teacher. And she said, Ms. Zoller, the screeners are great, but if you don't have good teachers and good parapros and good help in the classroom, that's what really makes the difference in a kid being able to learn to read, is that one-on-one, whether it's the parent reading at home, which is part of it, but also a teacher that lays eyes on that student every day to see where that student is. And so we can't lose that personal interaction because now we have screeners. And so we got to find that balance between technology and teaching.
100%, Martha. You're correct. And certainly, as we visited with friends from across the South on the success they've had with early learning and literacy, we took some pages from their playbook. But Martha, I speak to people all of the time. We have some systems in Georgia that are doing an excellent job. And we've also looked at what they were doing and patterned everything, patterned some things after with Chairman Irwin, who chairs our education committee, to make sure we get it right. And, of course, we started last year, and we put a literacy coach in every RESA in the state to help start this process along. But we're doing what we can to ensure, and also a vital part, not only before the young people go to kindergarten, but it's the parents' involvement. And none of this will be accomplished without strong parental involvement, certainly in conjunction with our teachers and our administrators, as we work with these children to help them determine where their strengths are and where they need some work. And I think you're exactly right. It's a one-on-one type evaluation so we can make sure we get it right with these young people.
And it's also, I would say to parents, don't be afraid if you're not a great reader. You don't have to be a great reader to make your child a great reader. And if you had a bad experience in school, it doesn't mean your child has to have a bad experience in school. And so it's important that you lead in that way in your household with your children. And I think that's really important. Now, tax relief is one of the other areas that you've been working hard on. We got a little disappointment related to property tax, but you've made a lot of progress in some other areas. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Martha. We're not there yet, but we're still anticipating we'll get across the finish line with a great property tax bill that will speak directly to and impact the homestead property taxes. That is the most difficult tax on Georgia homeowners, and we are committed to bringing that affordability to them. But let me make sure that your listeners know this. We've already signed off on this amended budget, and every homeowner in this state will get approximately a $500 credit from us from the state to make their homestead taxes more affordable this year. But our goal is to completely eliminate property taxes on our Georgia homesteads. And that's what we talked about yesterday when I answered that question. The Republicans in the House have worked with and asked for and not received much assistance from our Democratic partners in the House if we said, what would you like, how would you like to see this done? And we've offered it. We've been out there. Of course, we have ideas, but we've been willing and we've changed, worked with GMA and ACCG and in our schools. We've made those changes. We've adapted the bill to, it's really a good bill. It's fair. It works with our local governments. For over a 10-year period, we can really reduce our property tax on our homesteads in a very responsible measure. But we're gonna put it out there again tomorrow and see how it votes. And I think this is one of the most critical issues that we faced, with our property tax relief for homeowners, and then with our income tax rebates, working with the governor. It's going to be significant. Homeowners can get up to $1,000 back from the state this year if they file a joint merit account on their income tax. So we feel very strongly we need to get there, and I believe I'm still hopeful that we'll get there. But Martha, I'll tell you this: someone said, "Well, that's one of your priorities," and it is, Martha. But I've never been one and I've never been one that shied away from a challenge because you might not be successful. I think you move the needle if you try, and I'm going to assure you we're going to continue to try to do this. But Martha, I want to make sure that our folks understand. You shouldn't be paying rent to the government. Let's put it in the most basic terms, and that's where we are now. The most important and the largest investment people make in their lives is their homes. It's where your family is raised, where your values are established. It's where you learn to read, where you get all those encouragements. And we don't need the threat of a government taking away someone's home because they're having to make a difficult choice on affordability where they do the things that are important for their homes. But we want to make sure, and I think we have a good plan, and hopefully we're going to get that across the finish line as it's written. But I can assure you, Martha, we're going to get something across the finish line.
So on that same subject, this is people that are currently owning homes. There's a lot of people out there that are having a hard time getting on the property ladder. You're doing some work in that area too.
We're doing a number of things, Martha, and certainly as we look at what it takes and what's required of someone to qualify for a mortgage, there are several things we're doing that can help young families or families of any age qualify for a mortgage. And one of them is certainly the homestead property tax relief. That can add thousands back into your budget, so you can qualify for a mortgage. I mean, last year, as you well know, and your listeners know, we passed civil justice reform, tort reform, and part of that for us was to expect, and we've had great success there. Passed some legislation, worked on it all summer, is get some insurance reform. So we're seeing with property tax reform, insurance, and the insurance markets, as we start to lower insurance rates, that makes more people able to qualify for a mortgage. And in conjunction with that, we're also looking at something now is what we can do to reduce the cost of developments, and with some of the rules and regs that we have in place, being very respectful of our counties and the local officials, but certainly looking at what we can do from the state level that could reduce that cost of that first-time home again. And if you put all three of these together, I believe it's going to be a real ideal situation, and we'll be doing all we can to help, along with the DREAM Act we have that we fund, that we help young people and help first-time homeowners qualify for a mortgage and certainly being able to afford a home. So all these things together, I think, are going to be powerful tools to help first-time homeowners.
So we got a question in from a listener. Jeannie asked if there's going to be any movement, you think, on the gambling bills this session.
Well, that's one thing we've always looked at, Martha, and it's one thing I've just been very clear on. We're going to look at and listen to our members, and that's one of the things we do. And certainly, we know that's an issue that gets a lot of discussion. We know there's some sports betting, if you will, and I'll just confine my comments to that portion of what we see with gambling and with all the different formats of it. We know there's some issues there. There are issues that with habitual gamblers, we know that's an issue and how it can impact families. But we also know that right now, sports betting is being conducted in our state, but it's coming from offshore locations. There's no guardrails around that, and I think that's one of the pieces of discussion that I hear. If it were here in Georgia, there could be some guardrails up and some protections. But again, we're going to listen to our members. We're going to listen to folks that are out there that have concerns. We'll get it right, but we're going to listen to proponents and those that have concerns. And I believe we can come out with something that's balanced. And I'm not sure at this point, again, if we'll hear something on sports betting tomorrow or on gambling tomorrow. But it's certainly right there. We're very focused on what we should do there, what's best for all Georgians.
And finally, we're going to talk about women's issues. There's been some increases, it looks like, in maternal leave. We've got increased access to pre-K. What are some other things that you've been able to do related to women?
Well, that was very, very powerful. And Martha, I don't know if you were able to see our press conference that we did a couple of days ago when we came off the floor after passing a number of these issues, and certainly we'd already passed some of them, but increasing that maternity leave from 6 to 9 weeks, that's a very powerful position because, as we've already discussed, we're very focused on the family.
Yes.
And how do we protect those families and get them started in the right way and give our young mothers an opportunity, those birth mothers, an opportunity to really start fostering that relationship with their child and reading to their child, speaking to their child, to make sure we get them started right. Certainly, we've also increased access to pre-K and after-school care for these working families. That's important. People out working, trying to earn a living, we need to do everything we can within reason to make sure we help them from that standpoint. Other women's issues we talked about was allowing pharmacists. This is big because of, we don't have great health care in some areas of our state is not as available as it is in others. So allowing pharmacists to prescribe birth control is going to be something that's going to be really positive and be a very great benefit to our women in this state. Another thing, Martha, we're working on that we're working on something that's the domestic violence offender registry. And now, if someone is abusing their wife and it happens a second time, then they go on this registry for up to 5 years. And it's not per se a punishment, but it's an acknowledgement that this person has a problem and that wife should be protected. And so we just think that's a little bit of common sense, how we make people aware of what these issues are. And hopefully too, it will work to stem some of that, and folks will realize that those offenders will realize that there is some consequences and that we're paying attention. And that's what it's all about, not just a wife having to suffer endless abuse from the hands of an abuser.
Absolutely. Jon Burns, I hope I will see you at Sine Die, but anytime you come to Gainesville, you can come and see me. I appreciate you being with me.
I love your city and love you, Martha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll take a break.
In North Georgia,
it's the topics that matter to me.
We're your eyes and ears in the community with the latest breaking news.
It's the most important thing we face.
AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Welcome back, people. I'm here with the one and only lottery-winning, pink-haired, 80-year-old rap sensation who just won $1 million every year for the rest of her life. And Edith.
Hi, darling. I'm just living out my dreams.
And dropping a new single.
I'll be a millionaire as long as pink's in my hair. Millionaire for what? Millionaire for life.
Your fans are gonna love that.
With $1 million every year, my bank account loves it too.
Get your chance to win $1 million every year for the rest of your life. Play the Millionaire for Life game, only from the Georgia Lottery. Please play responsibly. Always check and sign your ticket.
Got a scratcher that didn't win? Well, now you can play it once again. That's right. All non-winning scratchers at any price point can be entered to win the rolling jackpot. Visit GALottery.com for details and to enter. The rolling jackpot. Another way to win from the Georgia Lottery.
Tune in to WSB Channel 2 for your official Georgia Lottery drawing and check out the Players Club at GALottery.com.
Spring is calling. Are you ready to grow? At Full Bloom Nursery, we're kicking off the spring season with 5 acres of perennial shrubs and trees, all ready for your next outdoor project. This is Julie. I'd like to invite you to come experience the difference of a true nursery. Take a stroll through our display gardens and let our knowledgeable staff help you choose the perfect plant for your space. We're open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and Saturday from 9 to 2. Learn more at fullbloomnursery.com and follow us on Facebook to see what's growing.
I'm Frank Norton with the Norton Agency. Our family business has a legacy of honest, successful real estate brokerage. Buying or selling is an emotional and confusing process. We've been the trusted advocate for the best in home ownership. You need Norton now more than ever. Call us at 770-532-0022 or look for us on the web at gonorton.com. Our family serving North Georgia for 4 generations.
Would you take advice on how to collect money from the folks that owe it to you? That's exactly what you do when you let an insurance company steer you to their contract shop. At Nichols Body Shop, we earn our customers one at a time. We depend on repeat customers and referrals to keep our shop busy. When you need a repair shop, please consider picking a shop that works for you. Nichols Body Shop in Flowery Branch, where the best sign of a quality repair is no sign at all. Find us on Facebook or call 770-967-8200.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, more is being released following Hall County Sheriff Gerald Couch's DUI arrest last Friday. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Lou Holtz was more than a football coach. He was a leader, a motivator, and a symbol of Notre Dame excellence. From 1986 to 1996, Holtz led the Fighting Irish to the college football mountaintop. With 100 wins, a national title, and a 23-game win streak.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with John Lilly, and Lou Holtz passed away yesterday. He was 89 years old. I met Lou Holtz at right around the time he had left Notre Dame, and he was at the Legends Golf Tournament out at Chateau Elan. And so I saw him going into the restaurant, so I tried to get him to come to the University of Georgia as a football coach at that time. So that was, but I knew I was just being a fan.
He was a heck of a football coach. Now, I got frustrated with him from time to time because he was a homer for South Carolina all the time. But his analysis and his thoughts on life and what it means to be a player and a person was very good. I enjoyed listening to him.
Yeah, and when he went to South Carolina, I think the year before he went to South Carolina,
0-11.
They were 0-11, and then they were 8-4 and maybe 9-3 the 2 years that he was there. And look, South Carolina has got a long. I mean, not that I want them, to do well, but they've had a really long dry spell. I mean, it's kind of like they're becoming Kentucky in some ways.
Ooh. Don't say that. Ooh. Yeah, it's kind of gotten to the point where you can beat them now if you got to play them, and that doesn't make me sad, but I can understand if you're a Carolina fan, that's a tough time right now.
Yeah, so it's funny because wasn't Steve Spurrier at South Carolina for a while?
Absolutely. Then you couldn't beat them.
Yeah, you couldn't beat them, and I'll never forget, Holly Rowe, I think is her name, was asking him, "Hey, Coach, what do you got to do?" He goes, "Well, Holly, we got to score more points than they do," because you can tell they hate doing those interviews running off the field.
He absolutely couldn't stand those, and I cannot stand it to see that. Nowadays, they got people in the dugouts, in between innings, in between quarters.
Oh, my gosh. They got them mic'd up on the PGA Tour. Talking while they're going from one hole to another. That has got to be distracting.
It's awful.
But anyway, we're going to have a great show for you. Got another hour left. Me and John Lilly will be back after the break. We'll be back.
Matt Hayes here from Hayes Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac in Baldwin. Check out the new savings event here at Hayes. 2026 Chevy Trax for only $24,990. 2025 Chevy Suburbans for $11,000 off MSRP. Or best of all, a 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500, $10,000 off MSRP, including trades assistance rebate. Ask about our free lifetime powertrain warranty and come check out these deals and more at Hayes Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac in Baldwin.
Family at Hayes.
Are you a fraud-paying American? 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans have been victim of identity fraud. With LifeLock, your identity, if it's stolen, they fix it guaranteed or your money back. And last year, billions in refunds were stolen. Could be from your salary, overtime, or second job. Gone. But this year, you don't need to stay a victim. Because this tax season, fraud-paying American is something no American should have to claim. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms do apply.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10 o'clock.
More Americans are coming home from the Middle East.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, which hasn't been easy to do with another 2,000 flights canceled today.
The State Department has been working to get Americans out of harm's way who are stuck in the region on flights, whatever flights are still leaving the region. They're chartering buses. Now, as of last night, the first U.S. government-sponsored evacuation flight departed the region.
Fox's Jillian Turner at the State Department. Some Americans are taking private jets, but that can cost $200,000 as war rages a sixth day.
The Israelis launching a new round of intense airstrikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran. Large blasts echoed through the city earlier today as the Israelis went after the structure that is responsible for the crackdown on protesters earlier this year, targeting the IRGC headquarters.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv, where air raid sirens have gone off all day, warning of incoming missiles from Iran shot down. As Iran also opens fire on countries where there are U.S. facilities. Iran's foreign minister warned on X today the U.S. will bitterly regret sinking a warship in international waters with a torpedo. And as Iran uses drones also in its counterattacks, the U.S. is leaning on an ally for help.
No country has more experience being on the receiving end of Iran's Shahed drones than Ukraine. Russia's fired thousands of them since the start of the full-scale war in 2022. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the United States and others are trying to tap into that counter-drone expertise.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. War Secretary Pete Hegseth will visit U.S. Central Command headquarters in Florida later today. He's now speaking at a conference focused on combating drug cartels and just how did the operation that's blown up dozens of boats suspected to be smuggling drugs, killing 100 or more alleged narco-terrorists.
Last month, we went a few weeks without targeting a single boat. Why? Well, because we couldn't find a whole lot of boats to sink. And that's the whole point.
America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow, and a Cleveland woman accused of killing a 4-year-old girl in Hall County last year could now potentially face the death penalty. WDUN's Lawson Smith has the latest.
Jessica Maria Moats was arrested in October of last year after authorities reportedly found the body of 4-year-old Autumn Fox in the trunk of a Nissan Sentra parked at the Sam's Club on Mundy Mill Road in Oakwood. Moats faces charges including malice murder and aggravated battery in the case. Hall County Superior Court documents show that the Northeastern Judicial Circuit District Attorney's Office offered Moats a plea deal that would have sentenced her to life in prison. Moats, however, declined that deal, pleading not guilty to the charges. The DA's office has now told the court that it intends to seek the death penalty in the case. No start date has been given for the trial.
A woman is facing a list of animal cruelty charges after dead cats were reportedly found inside an Oakwood apartment last month. More now from WDUN's Caleb Hutchins.
A report from Hall County Animal Services says officials found 4 dead cats and 2 puppies inside a unit at the Creekside on Mundy Mill Apartments back on February 2nd. The home was also found in a state of disrepair, with the report citing garbage and feces across the floors of most of the rooms. One of the apartment's tenants was identified as 40-year-old Jessica Marie Jensen. She was eventually arrested this week on 9 counts of animal cruelty. At last report, she remained in the Hall County Jail on more than $11,000 bond.
Lee Dara has been the Northeastern Judicial Circuit's chief prosecutor for over 20 years, and he is potentially facing an electoral opponent for the first time since 2006. More from WDUN's William Daughtry.
One of Dara's assistant district attorneys is running against him as a Republican in the May 19th primary. Shiv Sachdeva is presumably running according to a filing with the State Ethics Commission on Tuesday. This will be Dara's first opponent since the 2006 Republican primary, when he beat Lisa Jones with 68% of the vote, according to Georgia Secretary of State records.
And what obligations do property owners have after selling? Hall County's tax commissioner helped to make sense of the process. Their office cited thousands of unpaid property tax bills in 2025 as a reason for a public service announcement, and Georgia law says the individual or entity listed as property owner January 1st is responsible for that year's property taxes, even if the property was sold later. Full details and more news at Access WDUN. Now here's your Access WDUN weather forecast.
We are in for a mix of clouds and sunshine.
mid to upper 70s. This evening and overnight, partly to mostly cloudy, upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Blairsville, 58 degrees, Sugar Hill with 63, and in Gainesville, 62. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Grab your golf clubs and join Georgia Mountain Food Bank on Wednesday, June 3rd for the inaugural Greens for Good golf tournament at the beautiful Legacy Golf Course at Lanier Islands. Enjoy a premier day of golf while supporting the food bank's mission to fight hunger across North Georgia. Early bird pricing is available now through March 15th, and sponsorships are open for businesses ready to make an impact. Learn more about sponsorships or register to play at gmfb.org. Let's tee off till no one is hungry.
Hey folks, Todd Starnes here. When it comes to keeping pests out of your home, Mark Turner at Select Pest Control has it figured out. As the name implies, you get to select whether you want their professional team to take care of those pesky pests, or if you'd rather do it yourself, visit their retail store on Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville. Since 1993, Mark and his great staff have offered professional service, products, and advice to North Georgia. Visit them online at selectpest.net, or better yet, stop by Select Pest Control today and tell them Todd sent you.
Talking about the issues that affect you most. It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical. Now from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, here's Martha Zoller on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN. Always here, always local.
Hey folks, Houston Gaines here. We're just leaving the Capitol. It's about 10 p.m. on Wednesday night. Been a great day under the Gold Dome. I had two pieces of legislation that I carried on the House floor today. First was making sure we're holding local governments that aren't enforcing the law, whether it's on public safety, illegal immigration, homelessness. We're going to put their feet to the fire. If you're a property owner in those jurisdictions, they're not doing their job, you can get a property tax refund because they're failing to do their job to uphold the law. Then tonight, I had the last bill of the evening that's going to make sure we have transparency, and any foreign entity that's trying to have influence in our curriculum across this state, they're trying to give money to our schools, you're going to know about it because citizens across this state should know if there's some foreign government's trying to influence our kids' education.
It is the Martha Zoller Show. That's Houston Gaines. John Lilly's here with me today. Thank you. Houston Gaines is running in the 10th Congressional District. Okay. That's one of the open seats that have been created because people are running for other offices. Mike Collins is running for Senate. And even in that very red district, they've got a Republican has just stepped up and is, I don't know him. He qualified and he's a Hollywood producer of some sort. I think there's a couple of Democrats, too. In Oconee County right now qualifying doesn't end until tomorrow. There are currently, people are going to see 51 candidates on their ballot if they pull a Republican ballot. And obviously we live in an open primary state, so you can pull a Democrat or a Republican ballot. A lot of people around here, there's roughly 23% of Hall County's Democrat, roughly. Right. A lot of those folks usually will pull Republican ballots because there are state house races or county commission races that may not have Democrats running. But this time, there's Democrats pretty much up and down the ballot, and they're taking the strategy the Democrats are, that no, we can't win the 9th district, but if we peel off a few votes, it helps us statewide. That's what they're doing.
But will they do that? Help me with this. If they do that, do they lose the right to vote for the Democrat governor?
No, not in the general. It's only during the primary.
Okay.
They can pull a Republican ballot in the primary, and then they still have to pull a Republican ballot for the runoff. But when you get to the general, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see because they are trying to get more people up and down the ballot. I mean, and I think that's, if I were a Democrat, I would want to do that too. Even if I knew I couldn't win, you at least get more Democrats out if you have a Democratic candidate. If you have no Democratic candidate, then a lot of people aren't going to come out.
It'll be interesting to see if some of these are moderate.
Yeah.
And how they come about that and who they aren't going to align themselves with. 51's probably way too much. I mean, just think about the money spent on the runoff.
You're rocking back and forth, John.
Man,
okay.
Thank you for the sign language.
That's right. But not very good, though.
To spend the money for the runoffs, but it's just amazing to think about that. But 51 candidates. But that tells me there's 51 people that want to serve.
That's right. That's right. And I think it'll be interesting when we look at I like to look at the governor's race because that's going to be, the Senate is going to be at the top of the ballot because the federal goes at the top. And that's going to be Mike Collins, Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley. There's probably some person we've never heard of that's going to end up qualifying too, but they won't get very much of a race. The Libertarian does not have to have a primary. And then on the Democrat side, it's just going to be John Ossoff. I was really hoping that Rua Rowan, who was running for governor, would run for Senate, so we could just see how far left John Ossoff will go. I thought it was hysterical, but that Senate race is going to draw a lot of people. The governor's race is going to be interesting because on the Republican side, we have had this earthquake called Rick Jackson that's gotten in the race in the last 3 weeks. And it has changed the game. And if you deny it, you're not living in Realville. It has changed the game. It's something we haven't ever seen. I hope what'll come out of it is we won't have all these 2-year campaigns anymore.
Right.
But I don't know if he can win, but he is he's shaking things up. On the Democrat side, you've got Keisha Lance Bottoms is the favorite, and I would love to run against her. We've got Jason Estevez, which is not getting the traction he hoped he would get, but he's I'm not going to say he's a moderate. He's a progressive, but he is a small business owner. He knows, because of that, he's going to be maybe moderate's the wrong word, but more reasonable on things like business issues, regulation, things like that.
Yeah.
You've got Michael Thurman, and you've got other candidates that are running. My biggest concern, and I've said this before, is Michael Thurman. Because if Michael wins the nomination, he is more moderate, he is well thought of, and what we forget is that even though DeKalb, Fulton, and Cobb are now solidly Democrat counties, there are still 1 million Republican votes in those 3 counties, okay? And if we only won the governor's race by 100,000 votes, if he can peel off 100 or 200,000 squishy Republican women, I like to call them, the women that vote back and forth. They voted for Clinton in 96. They voted for Bush in 2000. They voted for Obama in 08. They voted for Trump in 16. They go back and forth. If he peels off enough women, then he could win.
He's an impressive guy. He's had his name out there for
Michael Thurman.
His name out there for a long time. I don't know if he's had any scandals or anything.
Not that I know of. He's a great author. He's
Right.
written some great historical books about Georgia. I like Mike Thurman a lot.
I do
would
too.
have no problem working with Mike Thurman, even though I want to keep a Republican governor. I think Mike Thurman is a guy you could work with.
And I could see people voting for him because I just don't think he'd be far left to the extreme. And if he got the governorship, I think we'd be in good shape.
So how do you when you look at this, because you're just a regular guy,
Right.
okay? So you look, and you generally vote Republican,
Yes, ma'am.
right? What are you looking at on the governor's side for the Republican side?
I want someone to win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whoever comes out and wins. But there's just a lot of issues in this state that got to be looked at, and Speaker Burns was talking about them on that. I mean, Georgia's a leader in the country right now. We got a lot of business down here, and people are moving here, and we got to keep that place up in the nation. We put a lot of people out there that could win elections nationally, and I'd like to see that continue on.
So with everything because you're in the financial planning business, have people been nervous since the war in Iran? The last few days, have your clients been nervous?
A little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
You get the initial thrust, but what you're seeing, as I was telling you, the Tel Aviv market's been up 10% here, and the Iranian currency's down. So that's telling you that this is probably not going to last very long, although the news media like to tell you it would. I just can't see that it happen. So we'll get back to business.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting when you look at this. So right now the market is a little bit down on the Dow Jones, but the NASDAQ is up, which means there's some good things on tech stuff. But again, this is what my broker tells me is that, first of all, we've had a pretty volatile market over it's been overall flat over the last 6 months, but it goes down a little, goes up a little, down a little, up a little. But that these numbers are so big that back in the day, 1,000 vote drop was a crash, okay? Or 1,000 point drop was a crash. But now when it's up to 46, 47, 48, 49, it hit 50 for a day or two, a 1.5% swing one way or another is normal, right?
It's not going to affect your
It's
portfolio
normal.
much at all.
Yeah.
And one stock can move that in the Dow. Typically, I like to watch the S&P 500. And like when we had Liberation Day, the S&P was down almost 10% in a day.
Oh, yeah.
Never seen that in forever. And so since that time, if you look at the growth we've had since then, it's been a very good market, ups and downs, and that's just part of it. But people have made some good money on that, and portfolios are looking good.
Yeah, and I think that we do have a problem in this country, and I acknowledge it, that people like me who are kind of at the end of our saving cycle. I've been saving since my early 30s. I didn't save in my 20s, and that's the thing I was able to correct in my children. My children started saving from their 20s. I kind of like spent in my 20s. And I know people can't relate to this at all, but the old people like me will remember this. You used to be able to deduct your credit card interest on your income tax. So that encouraged people, during the 80s, spend. That encouraged people to spend, because if you can deduct your interest rate, the interest you paid on your credit cards, well, why not?
Let me ask you this. When you were at Rich's, and I love talking to you about Rich's back in the day, did you have a 401k? Did you have a saving plan?
They did have a 401k back then.
They had one even back then.
They had the one back then. It was new,
yes, ma'am.
But they had one back then. And I've been self-employed the rest of the time, except for when I worked for the government for Senator Perdue and then Governor Kemp. And that I had all the stuff. You had a thrift incentive program, you had a 401k, you had all that kind of stuff. But I was only in government work for about 6 years. So the rest of the time, my husband and I have been self-employed, which means, we earned interest on all the money that we have. But what I say to kids is I kind of take the Dale Anderson plan, where the first paycheck you get is the most money you've ever had in your life. And you need to treat it like that. And don't spend it. If you start with your first paycheck, taking 20% where you save 10 and you give 10, then you'll never miss it. It's when you've collected those checks over periods of time and then you have to start saving. It's if you keep your lifestyle low. It's basically live under your means.
Right.
Live under your means.
Think about let's say the olden times. I'm old enough to remember when you worked at a company, you had a pension, you retired and got a gold watch.
Yeah.
And you got a pension the rest of your life.
Yes.
That's not available.
No,
so that's
and
very important now to be saving.
Well, Social Security was actually how it was described when it first started in the 30s, was a three-legged stool. And it was Social Security, your pension plan, and your own savings.
Right.
And that was the three-legged stool. And it was described like that because you had to have all three legs for it to be stable, right? And now my nephew just retired from the Navy. He joined up when he was 18, and he retired when he was 41. So he had 23 years in. And, thankfully, he can live on his pension from the Navy.
And deserved.
And then he has a job, too. So the job he uses is to invest and to do all that kind of stuff. He says, I can meet all of my obligations on my pension, and the job I have is just kind of gravy. But I said, but don't go out and spend that money. You need to save that money, even though you'll have that pension the rest of your life.
I'll tell you this. So my dad retired in 1995. He was a vice principal. And he's lived off his pension since 1995.
Yeah.
He had a knucklehead son that he had to pay money for. I'm sure he didn't have a lot of savings, but the pension was there, well deserved. But he's had that since 1995.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more. You can join us on the phone.
Are you moving your home or business? This is Phil Benelli, and on the next edition of North Georgia Business Radio X, Scotty Ball, partner at Walker Ball and Demo, discusses the legal items to study prior to signing on the dotted line. Make your radio's home setting with us Saturday at 3 on WDUN. Always here, always local.
Great Chevy vehicles and excellent customer service. Those were the cornerstones that Charles and Jeanette Hardy built Hardy Chevrolet on in 1982, and that hasn't changed. This is Mike Cormier inviting you to Hardy Chevrolet. Come see how enjoyable car shopping can be. From our sales team to our service department, we're all about customer service. Like Charles Hardy always said,
we love you and we need you.
Together, let's drive. At Hardy Chevrolet, Browns Bridge Road in Gainesville, online at hardychevrolet.com.
So it's time to replace your roof. You've seen your neighbor's metal roof and wondered if that's for you. The answer is yes, thanks to Dawsonville Metal Products. Metal roofing from Dawsonville Metal gives you the maximum choices for making your roof look and function its best. It can be installed over your existing roof and can boost your home's value. Let Justin Odom show you the many benefits of metal roofing. Call Dawsonville Metal Products at 706-265-3099 and visit them online at dawsonvillemetal.com.
It seems like every day we're upgrading our smart devices. When was the last time you updated your eyes? Hi, this is Kim at Advanced Eye Center. Dr. Ackerman and Dr. Evans have more than 35 years combined experience. See why we're voted best in Hall County. Choose custom all-laser LASIK or specialty lenses with laser cataract surgery. At Advanced Eye Center in Gainesville, we have a choice that is right for you. Advanced Eye Center, vision correction for all ages.
Hi, this is Cal Cooley with Electronic Sales Company, and joining me today is Charlie Bramwell, Director of Interactive Neighborhood for Kids, better known as INC around here. When we help move your burglar alarm, fire alarm, cameras, and all the other things, I had no idea how impressive and big INC has become. Where's your new location?
We moved to Oakwood, center of Oakwood.
Got anything special coming up?
Yes, sir. We have several new exhibits coming in within the next month or two. The Department of Transportation is putting in some roads for us. We're talking to the FAA about bringing some monitors in so kids can actually see real-life flights. We have an extremely nice train exhibit. And yesterday, we was donated a train console from an actual train. We're going to refurbish it and put it next to the train exhibit so kids can actually be the train conductor and move levers and valves.
I am so excited. Everybody, you need to go down there to INC in Oakwood.
Your community partner in protection, Electronic Sales Company. See them today online at electronicsalesco.com.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, prosecutors now are seeking the death penalty for a Cleveland woman accused of killing a 4-year-old girl last year. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
Y'all hear me okay? First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for this day. I want to thank you for us being blessed to live in the greatest country in the world. I want to thank him for a process that allows us to pick our leaders and do it in a way that is fair, that is reasonable, and puts the hands in we the people. And we the people, and the people of Texas, have spoken. Unfortunately, that person is not me. But that's okay, because I always win, because I'm a believer in Christ.
So that's Wesley Hunt. It is the Martha Zoller Show. John Lilly's here with me now. They had a primary in Texas this weekend, or on Tuesday, and John Cornyn and Ken Paxton are going to be in the runoff. Wesley Hunt did not make it to the runoff, and then in the congressional seat, not the other Senate seat on the Democrat side, Jasmine Crockett was beaten, which is not a bad thing. I'm sure she's going to end up like on MS Now or something like that, talking about things. But that this Tallarico guy is very interesting because he's very progressive, John, and he also, I don't like it when people use the gospel in political ways. I mean, I don't like it when Senator Warnock does it. And I know he's a pastor, but I don't like it when he uses the gospel on his political side, and then that's what this guy does too. But he's like more in this liberation theology, and it's just not real. So Texas is going to be interesting. We also have a good matchup in North Carolina now between Michael Whatley and Roy Cooper, and then our primary is going to be in May, and we got a lot of people to think about.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch just to see how it plays out. If we have this, tide where just the Democrats take over in the midterms, you're hearing that a lot, and we thought that last time, and it didn't come about.
Well, statistically, when you are the party in power, you're going to lose seats in your midterm election. That's just with the exception of 2004 because we were right, or 2002 because it was right after 9/11. every other time the party in power loses. However, I do think that I think we have an opportunity here if we get our message right. And, I don't think it's because a lot of people have this wag the dog scenario, because a lot of times people don't want to change horses when there's a war going on or anything like that. But this war, I think, is going to last, 4 to 6 weeks. And then it'll be up to the Iranian people after that.
I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to say about 2 weeks.
2 weeks more? Okay. That's good.
I just the way the market's reacting right now and what you're seeing, I just don't know. Now, the question is, are we going to do this and another bad guy is going to step up? Or are the people going to take over? That's what's going to be very interesting to me. And I don't know what source to believe on that.
So it's funny because after that beeper thing that the Israelis did about 2 years ago, the Iranians have been very technology averse as far as how they communicate with each other since that happened. So this is why they had this in-person breakfast where they got 47 of them a few days ago. And then they had another meeting where they were going to pick the new supreme leader, and then a bunch of them got hit on that day because they're not using technology at all to communicate. They're doing all in-person meetings, which I don't think is totally a bad idea. But if you don't think that the Israelis know where these guys are every minute of the day, the fact that they could get people in a safe house it goes to show you how embedded they are around the region.
It's just hard to believe. When you see stuff like that, I'm like, can this really be like a Netflix movie? They know exactly what's going on and where you're at all time, but they are very impressive, and they don't play any games.
You can join us on the phones at 770-535-2911. You can also text us at that number. Tomorrow is crossover day under the Gold Dome, so legislation has to be passed. And by one chamber, and there's some machinations that happen if it doesn't get passed by one chamber, but in general, it has to be through one chamber by tomorrow, or else it won't pass in this session. So we're going to be following that. I wanted to just take a kind of a personal moment where Maya Parabu, who has covered the Georgia legislature for a number of years, she's been let go from the AJC because they've been cutting back. And that's kind of where we are in the journalism world right now. AJC got rid of their print edition. They're now doing all digital. And so they are letting people go. And Maya was one of those people. And I called her this morning because tomorrow in her kind of final act, she's going to be doing her best dress list that she does every year at the legislature. And I talked to her a little bit. And I told her, I said, look, you're a good journalist. You're going to find another job. Don't worry. And she appreciated, because it's like something you don't want to talk about when somebody gets let go. But unfortunately, or just the way it is in our business, things will happen. People are scaling down. They're trying to do more with less. And unfortunately, what happens is they get down to a certain level and they realize, hey, we probably need to add a couple more people. So, Maya, I know you're going to do great wherever you end up. I think it's important that there's a lot of people out there that support you.
You know what's sad is even as a kid in the 70s, there was nothing better than a new AJC.
Yeah.
Of course, I went straight to the sports page.
Of course you did.
Yes, but it was wonderful to see a brand new paper.
The sports page was wonderful.
Yes.
I don't read newspapers anymore because you can't get them, but I used to love reading newspapers.
Me too.
We'll be back.
Buying or selling real estate. We do so much more than just open doors. Buying a home encompasses a 180-item checklist. I'll be glad to share it with you. Our commission is our success fee. You need Norton now more than ever. I'm Frank Norton with the Norton Agency. Call us at 770-532-0022 or look for us on the web at gonorton.com. Our family serving North Georgia for 4 generations.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-515-1771. That's 800-515-1771. 800-515-1771.
3 straight for Tyler Reddick. He gets it done here at Austin, Texas.
I don't know how many times I've won 3 in a row as a racer in general in my lifetime. So I'll try to go to Phoenix and make it 4.
Will he make it a 4-peat? We'll find out in the Straight Talk Wireless 500 in Phoenix, Sunday at 2:30 on North Georgia's home of NASCAR. WDUN Gainesville, WDUN FM Clarksville, Gainesville. Always here, always local.
It's 10:30.
Fox News. I'm CJ Pop. The U.S. and Israel trade strikes today with Iran. The Israelis again hammering the capital of Tehran.
The Israelis looking east, but they're also looking north at the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah. Tanks moving into defensive positions in southern Lebanon. And we know the Israelis have issued a new evacuation order this morning for southern Beirut as they continue to hammer the city with airstrikes. They're looking to evacuate the entire Dakhya neighborhood, a Hezbollah stronghold.
Fox's Trey Yanks in Tel Aviv. Can House Republicans end the 19-day partial government shutdown targeting DHS?
We're going to have a vote on the House floor to open up the Department of Homeland Security. With heightened threats here at home, it's insane, it's dangerous that you would have that department closed by Democrats who are playing political games.
Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise earlier on Fox Business. America's listening to Fox News.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, I'm Steve Winslow. A woman has been arrested after authorities say several dead cats were found inside an Oakwood apartment last month. A report from Hall County Animal Services says 4 dead cats were found inside a unit at the Creekside on Mundy Mill Apartments February 2nd. One of the unit's tenants, 40-year-old Jessica Marie Jensen, was arrested this week on 9 counts of cruelty to animals. Dispatch audio and more details from the Hall County Sheriff's DUI case. Gerald Couch reportedly blew a .212 BAC and told the Georgia State Patrol he binge drinks during last Friday's arrest.
302 requested a heat unit or GSP in reference to a DUI, and he asked for ASAP.
Now, allegedly, Couch alluded to his 40-plus years of service with the Sheriff's Office while being arrested. He bonded out the same day, and the Sheriff's Office reportedly took possession of his county-issued SUV. And amid thousands of unpaid Hall County property tax bills, the Tax Commissioner's Office has issued a public service announcement. Georgia law says the individual or entity listed as property owner on January 1st is responsible for that year's property taxes, even if the property was sold later. That is, unless the proper legal language is in the closing documents. More details and more news found at Access WDUN. Now, here's your Access WDUN forecast from meteorologist Holly Strano.
Good Thursday morning, North Georgia. We are in for a mix of clouds and sunshine. Mid to upper 70s for highs this evening and overnight, partly to mostly cloudy. Upper 50s by early tomorrow. From the Access WDUN Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Holly Strano.
In Clayton, 60 degrees. In Decula, 64. And in Gainesville, 63. From North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9. WDUN.
If your aging loved one needs help, your first impulse might be to call an estate planning lawyer and hope for the best. There's just one problem. Elder care isn't simple, and it's not just about wills, trusts, and powers of attorney. Hi, I'm Haley Brock, attorney and owner of Kimbrough Law. Elder care law is unique. It sits at the intersection of healthcare, long-term care, finances, housing, and family dynamics. It's about protecting the legal, financial, and personal well-being of people facing the challenges created by aging, long-term illness, or disability. Elder care law is about getting the right care in the right place at the right time, while protecting assets and minimizing caregiving burdens to the greatest extent possible. At Kimbrough Law, elder care law isn't an add-on. It's what we do every day. If you're caring for an aging loved one and want guidance you can trust, Kimbrough Law can help. Call 706-850-6910 or visit kimbrolaw.net to schedule a consultation.
It's the Martha Zoller Show, presented by Gainesville Mechanical, from the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
And then on occasion, I had people who had volunteered to help us and wanted to see what we were doing. Right. For example, I think it was on one of these trips, I think, that I had my first trip for the man who's now the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, and his wife. They helped me get started.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show, and, before we get to Mark Vargas, that is Bill Clinton, and it is so sad to see him like that. I met Bill Clinton here at a Huddle House in 1992 when he was running for president, and now he just sounds and looks like an old man, which he is, but it's just sad to see him having to try to defend all of this stuff, and, it's very sad. Anyway, Mark Vargas is here with me right now. He's an expert on Iran and Iraq and has worked in the Trump administration, and we appreciate very much him being with us today. Mark, how are you? Welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you. Great to be with you.
So just give us an update on where we are today, because I get frustrated. I'm in the news business, and I get frustrated watching the news about things like this that are happening as we speak. So what do we know, and where are we today?
Well, we know that the head of the snake has been cut off because of these airstrikes. And I can't emphasize this point enough. I mean, for 40 years, that's a long time. For 40 years, Iran has been a recognized state sponsor of terrorism. I looked this up legally, Martha, under U.S. and international law. The killing of a single U.S. soldier could legally be interpreted as an act of war, both in the U.S. and internationally. And Iran is responsible for over 600 deaths of U.S. American service members. They have funded terrorist organizations, Hamas and Hezbollah and Houthi. Hezbollah, for example, $700 million a year. They use, women and children as human shields, like Hamas. And so these airstrikes, this air campaign is meant to completely dismantle and disable and eliminate Iran's terrorist regime. And the beauty of this is we've got support from the Gulf region, Saudi Arabia and Jordan and UAE and Kuwait and Bahrain. So we've got widespread support in that area. But this was a dangerous, dangerous regime. Nobody questions that. And the response, I'm not going to be listening to the Democrats, paying much attention to the Democrats. The response from Iranians around the world has been absolutely remarkable. They are grateful that President Trump has stepped up and taken out the Ayatollah and the Iranian regime, because for so long they've been tortured and humiliated and targeted. And so this is a good thing. The world's going to be safer because of it.
And look, I know you can't predict time. I've had a guest on that said that the financial markets look like this is going to be a fairly short interaction. The president has said, he thinks it'll be fairly short, but also they've got clear goals in mind and they've got to achieve those goals.
That's exactly right. And Martha, the comment that I hear, even from my own friends and circle, is that is this going to be another Iraq? And that answer is absolutely no. It's not even comparing apples and oranges. It's day and night. And you're right. The intelligence, we have specific locations that they want to strike. They're continuing to do that. Israel, as we speak, is dismantling Hezbollah in Lebanon. But the good news is that the funding for terrorist activities has been cut off. President Trump has said this is going to be short. He's 4 weeks. He's been clear, he does not want to put boots on the ground, but it's something that he'd consider. But we've had so much success so far on these airstrikes. And so I think this is going to be short, and then it's going to allow the Iranian people to stand up a government that is democratic and one that doesn't, torture their own citizens and fund terrorist activities throughout the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and the Iranian people that I know from all different walks of life, whether they're Iranian Jews or Iranian people that have moved out, many people saw what was coming before the fall of the Shah, and some had moved out at that point in time. But the people that I've known throughout my lifetime that have been, like what they like to say, Persian, they've been Iranian, but many times they will call themselves Persian. They overwhelmingly want to have their country back. And if you look at what Iran and most Middle Eastern countries that have gone far to the right were like in the 70s and early 80s, it's not at all like what they are today. And I think it's time for them to get back into the 21st century.
I agree. And, we talk about, Democrats like to talk about here in the U.S., women's rights. We hear this every election cycle. But what about women's rights in Iran? These women and girls are forced to marry as young as 9 years old. There are no equal rights. Again, they are tortured, they are beaten, and there is no basic rights and freedoms for women. That will change now under a new leadership structure in Iran, and the encouragement and the assistance of not only the United States, but these countries in the Gulf region that all want to see a safe and secure Iran. You're right. I mean, that's all they've known is death and destruction. They're ready to turn the page. They've been ready for a long time. The reason why we have military bases in that region is to protect those countries from Iran. And so, again, this is a new chapter. And I think the Iranian people, the response around the world has been absolutely positive. Even CNN can't hide the pleasure of the Iranians in seeing all of this transpire in real time.
I mean, you look at London, you look at even D.C., New York, Atlanta, even in Los Angeles, you see crowds of people cheering with Israeli flags, Iranian flags, and American flags. I mean, when in the world would you think that would happen? But there are still groups of people who are out there, and it's like whatever this administration does, they're going to oppose it. And they're very organized. They've got money behind them. Do we have any way of really uncovering where that money's coming from and somehow stopping that money? Because I got to believe some of that money is coming from our enemies, either China or Iran.
There's no doubt. I mean, Iran was funding everything around the globe. Again, since 2006, for your listeners, since 2006, Iran has been linked to over 1,000 terror attacks. That costs money. That costs a lot of money. And so I think it's going to be important to figure out where that money is coming from. I have confidence in the administration that they're going to be looking into that. They're already looking into George Soros and the funding of these violent protests, these very organized violent protests and riots in some of these major cities across the country. I've witnessed this firsthand in Chicago. To your earlier point, Martha, in Chicago just a couple of days ago, a place that was protesting the United States and Israel and pro-Palestinian flags everywhere. Just the other day, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people gathered in downtown Chicago waving American flags, waving Israeli flags and Iranian flags. It was absolutely remarkable to see something like this transpire in a place like downtown Chicago that has been so anti-Trump administration. But I think that the individuals and organizations and regimes that have been funding these types of activities, their time is up. I can't emphasize how important it was to take out the head of the snake, and we've done it, and we'll continue to wipe out any of their little groups in that region.
Absolutely. Mark Vargas, thank you so much for being with us today.
My honor. Thank you.
I appreciate it. We'll take a break, and then we'll take you up to the top of the hour.
And the schools and the agents, they have ruined college sports. It's insane.
It's Todd Starnes weekdays at noon on North Georgia's News Talk, AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
This is Nick
and Laura from
Nichols Body Shop. We want you to know it's your choice who repairs your vehicle.
Do not assume you can get the best repair for the cheapest price.
Every shop is different.
We work for you, our customer, to give you the best repair possible.
Learn more by calling 770-967-8200 or come by the shop. Estimates are always free.
You can also find us on Facebook at Nichols Body Shop,
the home of quality repairs
and old-fashioned service.
You already know Gainesville Mechanical for their award-winning HVAC service, but did you know they handle plumbing too? Because plumbing problems never happen at a good time, you need a trusted, experienced team there when they do. From small leaks to major repairs, Gainesville Mechanical is here for you with 24/7 no overtime rates through their Customer Assurance Maintenance Plan. Proud to be named Best of Hall for HVAC and Plumbing, Gainesville Mechanical and Bryant, doing whatever it takes to keep North Georgia cool since 1989.
This is Grant Nichols, and at Loretta's Country Kitchen, we know life can really pile up. There's work, getting the kids to practice, shopping. With all that, the week can really wear you out. The last thing you want to do is spend Saturday in the kitchen. Not to worry, we have you covered with Saturday lunch at Loretta's. That's right, not only are we open for breakfast on Saturdays, we're also serving up lunch from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Give your kitchen and your family a break with Saturday lunch at Loretta's Country Kitchen, Mundy Mill Road, Oakwood, where it's all good.
How often have you shaken your head and said it's awful when bad things happen to good people? Well, what can we do to provide good things? Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15 tells us that the way of the fool is right in his own eyes, but he who heeds counsel is wise. Verse 25 reminds us that anxiety in the heart causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. 5 minutes with the news shows us the evil and despair in the world. It's worth the effort to discern the good around us and to thank God for it. Let's leave a generous tip or a kind word today. Let's look back on our prayer time and note the difference our attitude likely made to others and to ourselves. This is Mike Martin of Milton Martin Toyota, hoping that all your days bring blessings.
Always here, always local.
From the Access WDUN Hardy Chevrolet newsroom, an Oakwood woman is facing charges for animal cruelty after multiple dead cats were found in her apartment. Details at Access WDUN and coming up on North Georgia's News Talk.
Use the Access WDUN Talk and Text line, presented by M&R Rental at 770-535-2911, and be part of the conversation. From the Northeast Georgia Health System studio in downtown Gainesville, it's the Martha Zoller Show on AM 550 and FM 102.9 WDUN.
But as we go to break, sad news. Legendary football coach Lou Holtz has died. Holtz led Notre Dame to its last national championship in 1988. He also coached at other colleges and universities and was the only coach to guide 4 different programs to the final top 15. And Holtz actually coached 1 year in the pros for the New York Jets. He was known for his passion, colorful language, motivational rhetoric. President Trump presented Lou Holtz the Medal of Freedom at the White House in 2020.
I will say this about Lou. Everybody loves him. Everybody respects him. He's tough as hell. And yet they all respect Lou. They just, it's amazing. They love him and they respect him. Sometimes it's a combination that doesn't come together. You know, they respect, but you are something. I never coached football. I coached life, he said, and it's true. His players really always loved him.
So it is the Martha Zoller Show. I'm here with John Lilly, and like I mentioned earlier in the program, I met Lou Holtz at the Legends Golf Tournament many years ago. And, it's funny, you see this pattern a lot where college coaches generally don't do well in the NFL.
No.
I mean, I'm sure there are some that have been successful, but it's a different ball of wax in the NFL. Although maybe that's going to change now that these college players are paid now. I mean, maybe you're going to need a different kind of coach in college. But Lou Holtz was from that era of you were coaching men. Yeah, you wanted to win too, but what were you trying to do is create good men out of it.
The importance of a coach is still huge in this country, and that's what Lou Holtz was. He helped you be a better person. Martha, I can tell you I played basketball all the way through high school, and I just don't feel like I ever had a coach that liked me.
Yeah.
He would just always just berate you, make you feel bad, and you played terrible. Whereas I feel like with Coach Holtz, when you see his ex-players, they love him.
Yeah. I think, too, what's interesting is that, okay, so I believe in role models a lot. And the teachers that you have along the way for a class here, a class there, they don't really get to know you as well. So if you're in drama or choir or band or sports, you get a coach or a teacher that you have for multiple semesters that gets to know you.
Yes.
as a kid, as a person, and it can have an impact on you. And that's why I think it's so important that young people have the opportunity to be involved in this. Now, the challenge we have, I think, is that most kids get sick of sports by the time they're 13 years old. And because we parents have ruined it, okay?
Agreed.
We've made it so competitive. We've made it so, they got to win, all this stuff, that by the time a kid gets to be 13, and I remember Clint Hamlin, who was my son's best friend, he had a late growth spurt. And all of a sudden, like in the 10th grade, he was 6'4", and I remember the coach, Bruce Miller, the coach
Yes.
at Gainesville High School, came up to him and goes, "Hey, would you like to come out?" And he had had such a bad experience that he didn't do it. Now, I don't know if it would have changed his life or not. And I understand the quality, and I want you to tell me this as a dad, and I'm sure you've coached too. You know, I understand that you don't want kids to not take it seriously. But I think we've taken all the fun out of it at 8, 9, and 10 years old. And so then we have kids at 13 or 14 that don't want to play.
Agreed. Now, 8 and 9, you do have having fun in sports is just so foreign to me. That's just, it's just, that's just not how it was.
That's why I wanted to ask you.
But I see now, yes, you need to have a little fun, but let's keep score so we know who won, because the kids will know it. That way, when you get to playing these upper sports and it starts to get important, you're used to it to a degree. But I don't want to see kids not have fun. This stuff where you're traveling every weekend and you have all this hundreds of dollars worth of gear, that's a bit much.
See, and people are going to get mad at me. I think these traveling teams are just a way for people to make money. These parents that will sign away their entire summer. And this over-organization of summer, where kids are in camps every single week and there's no playtime. And I know what you're going to say. Parents are working, blah, blah, blah. They got all this stuff. But we got to figure this out, because we're raising a bunch of kids that don't know how to solve problems, that don't know how to deal with failure, that don't know how to deal with things.
Or conflict between each other.
That's right.
I remember my mom had to work during the summer, and I was at home, and we went out and played and built forts and started fires, and no one cared.
And fought with each other.
Yes,
That's
fought
right.
in person,
That's
not
right.
online, fought
That's
in person.
Right. That's right. I mean, my husband told this story about how there was when he was in high school in California, the year he moved out to California, he and a few other guys had this band. And because his mom had a station wagon, he was the guy that carted all the equipment all around because she had a station wagon. And so there was this fight they had with these guys that were trying to push them around. I don't even know what the thing was. But they ended up fighting through it and then kind of were friends later. Now people go get a gun and try to kill somebody. So we've got to teach conflict resolution.
Yes, ma'am. And that's exactly right. And growing up, I had to go down to Atlanta to try to play a little basketball, and a gun was pulled all the time. I don't think anybody was ever going to get shot or hurt, but it was just I got a gun and you're going to be scared of me.
Yes.
And that was pretty prevalent.
Well, I tell you, I lived in DeKalb County, which is not a rural area, but when I lived there in the 70s, there was still a lot of wide open spaces. And just about every boy I knew had a gun in the back of his car, and they were going hunting after school, or they went hunting before they came to school. I mean, and you never worried that they were going to get the gun and come into school.
I remember maybe 15 years ago, I can't name the school, but there was a school up northeast of Georgia. The entire baseball team quit when turkey season started. They just quit because they wanted to go turkey hunting. And I just get it. That shows the importance. It shows what was important to them. And it was probably being around their buddies turkey hunting and not around having to play sports with all the pressure.
So Gunnar Stockton, who is the University of Georgia quarterback, went to the Trump rally last week. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Not that he can't. I mean, he's over 18 years old. He can do what he wants to do. I think he's probably 21 or 22 at this point in time. But I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm not sure how they made that happen. If Herschel knew him or if Bert knew him, I don't know. But I think that's probably not the smartest thing he ever did.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is not going to be good. And sure enough, on Twitter, I admit it, I'm on Twitter. People will come, he's not my quarterback. I used to like the guy. He's done. And I'm like, come on. But I can see the optics of that. I wouldn't have done it if I was him.
Yeah. I mean, I think they keep them so tied up. I mean, I can't even get any of those guys on this radio program because all of the things they're supposed to do are all contracted out by the SEC and the contracts they have and all this kind of stuff. And I just thought showing up at a political event while he's still, the quarterback at UGA, I mean, Kirby wouldn't do that. In fact, what I understand, what I have heard is that even though, yes, you can't control when you're a person in the public eye who takes a picture with you. Okay, Kirby and Bert have known each other for years and years and years.
Yeah.
There are lots of pictures of them together because they played on the same team together. But Kirby doesn't get involved in politics. And I have heard he does not like his picture being used.
No, he does not.
On the mailers because he doesn't want to get involved in politics.
Well, he knows that we got fans of both sides. And
That's right.
It just wouldn't be worth it. I mean, I still like Gunner, and if Gunner had done that, and it was Joe Biden, I would have thought, but I still would not like my quarterback.
That's right.
But
he's allowed to have his own opinion in his own personal life. I don't think it's like a huge mistake, but I wouldn't have done it if I was him. I think it's better to stay out there. But
that shows you how important sports is. People really get
important.
A lot of what they think from sports on that.
And it's funny, at that event, there were a lot of private jets. Herschel came in on a private jet. There were 2 or 3 other people that came for that thing, came in on a private jet. Of course, the president came in on Air Force One. But Herschel, of course, I think is he the Bahamas ambassador or something like that? And you know what? Good, bad, or indifferent, Herschel Walker and Donald Trump have been friends for 40 years. They have been in each other's corner for 40 years. And you can say what you want about Herschel. He didn't tell the truth about all of his peccadillos or whatever you want to call it.
The FBI.
All of that kind of stuff. But he has been a good friend to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's been a good friend to him through thick and thin.
He's been a good Georgia. He's a dang good dog.
Yeah,
and that's just that he probably wasn't fit for political office.
No,
but he's a dang good dog, and that's how I like it.
And he has been. I talked to him quite a bit, even after the election. He texts me every now and then, and I think he's been a straight up guy as much as he can.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, he had mental health problems that he talked about himself. And they will look at his campaign for a long time, because generally, if you tell your bad news yourself, it doesn't hurt you.
Right.
But he had some extra bad news. I mean, even Miss Dooley said to me, some of this stuff we didn't know. And we even sat him down and said, hey, if Vince and I are going to help you with this, we got to know everything.
Wow.
But you got to tell everything. Just like to your lawyer, you got to tell your political advisors everything, even if it makes you look bad.
Don't let it be found out.
I had one of those meetings when I ran for Congress when they said, okay, you got to tell us everything you think might be controversial. And, I said a joke at the end. Did I tell you about my boyfriend? And then I said, no, I'm just kidding. I don't have a boyfriend. I just have a husband.
Yes,
so it's all that stuff.
Mine will be a long list, Martha. That's why I couldn't run.
Yeah, you got to put all that stuff out there. Anyway, Tom Smiley's going to be here tomorrow. I'm taking one more week where I'm going to do a little shorter schedule while I'm recovering. But by the time we get through next week,